Have you heard of the AV Club, the website, the AV Club? They are, believe, spun off from Wired, and they do a lot of video game content, and most of it's really quite good, if I'm being honest with you. I don't hate the AV Club, despite the fact that the intro that you don't hear has me saying F the AV Club in this, but it's something where I appreciate their articles, I appreciate their interest in geek culture, I appreciate their interest in video games, and the way they present stuff is typically very well thought out, very well written, and very well done. And they recently did an article about the 25 best beat-em-ups of all time, and as I was going through it, I realized that I almost completely disagree with the list that they put together, and that made me realize I want to do my own. So we're going to go over now, we're going to take a look at their list of 25 beat-em-ups, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about my list of 25 beat-em-ups. So that was their list of 25, and there's some really quality games on here, and some that I had never heard of that I have subsequently checked out, which to me is always exciting, because whenever I can discover a new game that I've never played, always makes me happy. And I think there's something to be said here for the breadth of knowledge that the AV Club has, because it's not something I have, and I appreciate them for sharing a lot of those games. But at the same time, there was a lot of really bad games on that list that I don't understand how it made their top 25. Now, I have my 25 prepared. I have a couple of honorable mentions, and we're going to kick things off right now. All right, honorable mention goes to this game here. This is Sifu. And Sifu, to me, is something that is just unbelievably creative and an absolutely amazing idea, amazing concept of what a game can be. If you have not played Sifu, first off, shame on you. You should play it. It is a wonderful beat-em-up. It's a 3D beat-em-up where you play as a character that can die. And as you die, you age. So when you are defeated, you get a little bit older, and then you start your run again. And the effects of age will wear on your character as you go, as well as changing your character's appearance and things like that. It's an absolutely brilliant concept, and something that really feels like a Hong Kong action movie come to life. I thoroughly enjoy this game. There's a really good challenge to it. The storyline is great. The design work is wonderful. It's an absolutely marvelous title, and something that I think everyone should be playing today. First game into the list, and that is our first diversion from what the AAV Club said. Whereas they had Double Dragon 2 The Revenge, I'm kicking my list off with Wario World on the Nintendo GameCube. While this is not a traditional beat 'em up, and in fact, it's probably a little bit closer to a platformer, they had stuff like Splatterhouse on their list, which to me isn't a beat 'em up, it's a hack and slash, so I'm allowing this one. If they're allowed to make editorialized decisions, so am I. Wario World, though, is a fantastic game. Recently just dropped on the Switch Online service, which I really dig. Nice to see new stuff getting added to the GameCube library. And it's really fun. You play as Wario, you beat the crap out of some dinosaurs and other enemies the further into the game you get, and you have to go through and basically be greedy and collect money and collect garlic to heal up. It's a classic Wario game. It's just a 3D action beat 'em up, and that's really fun. I really dig it. Number 24 brings us Double Dragon 2 The Revenge, specifically the NES release. This is probably my favorite Double Dragon game, if you're not looking at Double Dragon Neon, but Double Dragon Neon is a flawed game that has some really difficult balancing issues and doesn't really play all that great at times. Double Dragon 2, though, is pretty silky smooth all the way through. I really like this one. This is the first real multiplayer beat 'em up we got in the Double Dragon series on the NES. You get to play as both Billy and Jimmy Lee, which is pretty cool. The gameplay is solid. The level design is really good. There are some challenging moments in play here where you actually have some light platforming elements, which is kind of similar to the first Double Dragon, but this one I think has a little bit more challenge to it, despite the fact that the game overall is more forgiving, which means I do think it's a little bit better. Double Dragon 2 The Revenge is a spectacular title and is particularly fantastic on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Number 23 brings us Battletoads on the NES, a game I'm not actually a huge fan of. I think it's a little too hard. I think it's actually a little too hard is being very generous in this regard. I think it's ridiculously difficult and frustratingly so and wildly unfair at times. But there are certain things that this game does that I cannot overlook or understate how impressive and important they are. First off, the graphics in the game are spectacular. The music is wonderful. There are things done on an NES with this game that weren't done previously. Like, some of the graphics on this make it look like it's a 16-bit title when it's still just an 8-bit game. The different levels where you have different aspects of the game, like even the much maligned jet ski levels, which I can't think of what they're called in the game off the top of my head, but stuff like that, even though it's difficult, even though it's challenging, it added something a little bit different and was incredibly fun. I really like the animation system in the game. I love the kind of mix-up where you have the particular in the first level where you're actually throwing rocks at the screen to kind of mix things up a little bit. A technically fantastic game, even if it is, like I said, unfair. Number 22 is Captain Commando, which featured on the AV Club list as well. They had it up a little bit higher, a little too high, really, as far as I'm concerned. I think theirs was in the teens. But for me, it's a solid 20s pick. It's a great game, don't get me wrong, but it pales in comparison to other games on this list, especially other games from Capcom. It's just not as strong. Now, is it clever? It's incredibly clever. It's very creative in what it does. The characters are memorable, and the design work in the game is, like, stellar. It's significantly better than something like Final Fight, despite the fact that I know that someone is grabbing a pitchfork as I say that. I do think the design work in Captain Commando is better, but the gameplay just doesn't feel as polished to me, and for some reason, I just don't feel it's as memorable as something like Final Fight is. So, as much as I enjoy it, and I do really, really like Captain Commando, I think a solid landing of number 22 is a good place for it. Number 21 brings us The Punisher, another fantastic game, another entry from Capcom. There's going to be a lot of that on this list, just be prepared for it. But this one I really enjoy. This one, despite the fact that it's probably not as creative as something like Captain Commando, I do feel it's a more balanced game overall and something that is more fun to play than Captain Commando is. It's a solid experience for a Marvel game, especially for an early Marvel arcade title. The combat is memorable and enjoyable because you can play as Frank, where he's just beating the crap out of people with his fists. You also have a gun you can use. You can also play as Nick Fury, which he plays exactly the same as Frank does, but it's a really good version of this particular type of Punisher character from the late 80s and early 90s. It's very, very true to the Punisher and Punisher War Journal comics that were out at the time. So it's something that, to me, it gets a little bit of bonus points there because I was a big fan of those comics at the time. Today, you can actually play this on the Marvel vs. Capcom Arcade Collection, so if you're curious about it, you can do that. It's available on all major platforms right now, and I think you'll see kind of the brilliance of what this title did. It was a really fun game at the time, and it still holds up today. In at number 20 is Yakuza. Now, Yakuza, this is a stand-in for the whole series. Whatever your favorite one, put it here. This is just me using the first game as an example. So the Yakuza series to me is one of the greatest video game franchises of all time. It is absolutely fantastic. The characters are memorable. The look of the game is stunning. The audio work in the game is fantastic. But where the game really stands out is the actual combat, the gameplay. It is a beat-em-up. It's a beat-em-up RPG, which I think is unbelievably creative and not something we see enough of. So as you play, you're going to level your character up and make them better, learn new techniques, things like that. But the combat is straight beat-em-up. You have different combos you're able to use. Different buttons do different types of attacks, so heavy attacks, light attacks, things like that. It is an absolutely fantastic franchise, a wonderful series, and something that I kind of hate that I discovered it as late as I did. I played the original PS2 years ago and just kind of forgot about the franchise until a couple of years ago. And I'm so happy that I am like picking it back up and going through it again. It's a marvelous series, one of the greatest of all time. Honorable mention to King of Dragons from Capcom. I really like this one. This feels like a precursor to their Dungeons & Dragons games. You have 5 different medieval fantasy characters you're able to choose from. It is in a medieval fantasy setting, so if you dig that, this is the game for you. It's a little bit RPG light, not really like any character progression or anything like that, like you get with the D&D games, but it's still really clever, still really fun. I like the look of the game. I like the combat in the game. It is a little uneven, and there are certain times where you're going to be able to find a spot on the map where you're just not going to get hit, and you can just fight the enemies as they come over to you. So those balancing issues drop it down just a little bit for me, but I still enjoy it. It's still a really fun game. Number 19 is Final Vendetta, and this feels like a lost arcade game from the 90s that was rediscovered and put out within the last few years. First off, just what a look. Absolutely stunning game to look at. Beautiful pixel art, amazing music, solid gameplay, and it feels like a classic beat-em-up arcade game that is just, it's so much fun. It's so wonderful to play. I absolutely love this game. It is one of my favorites on the Nintendo Switch. It's something that I go back to constantly. I play frequently. It looks, plays, and sounds wonderful. It is exactly the kind of beat-em-up that you remember playing when you were younger. It's just new. So all that great stuff back in the 90s that we loved, yeah, it's just updated and made more accessible, more enjoyable, and more fun in today's gameplay. Number 18 was their number 1 in Aliens vs. Predator. Now, I love this game. I really do. I do like it. And when I initially looked at this list, I said that game shouldn't even be on the list because I was thinking of the Super Nintendo release and not the arcade. The arcade is something else entirely. It plays unbelievably well. It plays so much better than the Super Nintendo release. And it's something where I can look at it and I can see, yeah, I've got some justification there as to why it would be that high on their list. But I can't look at this and say that's a number 1 because it's not. There are flaws in the game. There are flaws in the way it is designed. There are flaws in the way it plays. But it's still quality. It's still a great title. It is by far one of the 25 best of all time. I just don't think it ranks at number 1. There are particular games ahead of it on this list that I look at and I go, how did you not have this ahead of it on the list? Still a great game. Don't get me wrong. It's not number 1 overall. Number 17 is Streets of Rage 4, which is right around where they had it. They had it at number 18 on their list. I rank it just a spot higher. I think it is an excellent game. It's one of the better entries in the Streets of Rage series. It's a great kind of reintroduction to that franchise for people that hadn't played it since the 90s or had never played it. I think it's an excellent thing there. The storyline kind of picks up where Streets of Rage left off, so there's some familiarity there for longtime fans of the series, and I like that. The gameplay is really solid. The level designs are really good. The look of the game is wonderful. The music is great. Like, it hits everything that you would expect a Streets of Rage game to hit. It doesn't quite reach the lofty goals of another Streets of Rage game, which will be higher on this list as we go through. It's still excellent. It's still really fun, and I do think it is worthy of its placement on this list. It's just, I think there's some things that kind of hold it back just a little bit. Number 16 gives us an arcade game based on one of my favorite films, and that is Hook. This is a absolutely fantastic game. So this was developed by IREM, the guys behind R-Type and Kung Fu Master, so there's a good pedigree here for this game, and it's really clever. You get to play as Peter Pan or the Lost Boys, Ace, Pockets, Rufio, or Thudbutt,
and it is awesome. It's really great. Like, the only complaint I kind of have about it is that you don't really fight any pirates that look like the pirates from the movie, and the portraits of the characters look correct, and their character models do, but they're not quite one-to-one what you got from the movie, but that's okay. Like, I'm being nitpicky here, because the gameplay is really fun. There's some really clever experiences happening in this game, and it just plays so unbelievably well. One of my absolute favorite arcade games, and, like, huge thanks to anyone who dumped the ROM for this for MAME, because that's actually how I discovered it, was finding it on an emulator for an arcade. Number 15 brings us another arcade game. This is Asterix, based on the comic strip Asterix the Gaul, and I'm a huge fan of Asterix to begin with. Anyone that's been on the channel for a while knows I randomly suggest an Asterix game every once in a while, and this arcade game is excellent. It feels like a cartoon. Like, it kind of operates like if there was ever a Looney Tunes beat 'em up, it would feel like this one, because, like, Asterix and Obelix both pick up guys and just slap the crap out of them. They throw them around. Everyone's kind of like rubber bandy and bouncy. It's not just like you punch and you fall down and you get back up. Things kind of feel like a cartoon come to life. So there's definitely some Acme physics involved here, and it's super fun. Like, the biggest detraction I have for this game is that it's only 2 characters and 2 player that you can go with. It would be, I mean, but it's also Asterix and Obelix. You can't really build beyond those 2 characters for this game. So it's something where I want it to be more, but there's no real need for it to be more. So if you've never played this one, though, it's definitely worth finding on an emulator. It's an excellent title. And if you aren't familiar with Asterix, this is a good place to start. It's really fun. As a big fan of the Arthurian legend, I am kind of shocked that Knights of the Round only falls to an honorable mention, but going back through and playing these games again, I realized it just doesn't hold up to some other games on this list as much as I love it. It is a cool game. You get to play as Lancelot, Arthur, or Percival, and it kind of plays like a lot of those early 90s Capcom beat-em-ups, so that kind of knocks it down a little bit too, because in the grand scheme of things, as much as I do enjoy this game, I think I would rather play something like Final Fight or something like Warriors of Fate. It's a good game. It's just not top 25 material for me. Unlike the AV Club, which had it in there, they had it at 23, which is still a respectable showing, and this one comes in at like number 27 or something like that for me, but just not quite top 25 material. So if you're familiar with Dynasty Warriors or the Romance of the Three Kingdoms video games or story, you will be familiar with everything going on here with our game in at number 14, Warriors of Fate from Capcom. This is a sequel to 1989's Dynasty Wars, which, yes, it's very close to Dynasty Warriors, and it is based on the Romance of the Three Kingdoms story from ancient China. This is a really fun game. I really like the way this one is laid out. I think it's very clever. The different characters you're able to choose from all play a little bit differently. When you start the game out, you start on horseback, and it's interesting because normally when you start with a vehicle or something like that, you think you're going to be a little bit more unstoppable, and what I've actually found, at least in my play, is that you feel a little more stilted and a little more restricted when you're on horseback. It isn't really until you lose access to the horse by taking damage that the game really feels like it comes alive and the characters really kind of step into their personalities. It's fantastic. I love this one. It is available on modern systems with both Capcom Arcade Stadium and the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle, and I strongly urge you to check it out there if you haven't had the opportunity, because the game is absolutely wonderful. For me, in at number 13 is Jackie Chan's Stuntmaster on the original PlayStation, and while I know for some folks this isn't necessarily the kind of game that they really gravitate towards, for me, I love it. I think it is a wonderful, wonderful 3D beat 'em up, and I just think it's ridiculously charming. Like, the combat in the game is really easy to understand. It's really easy to just kind of fall into your rhythm with your punches and your kicks. You're able to also like jump off of the wall and stuff like that to flip over the bad guys, which I think is really cool. But this game takes like really solid beat 'em up combat, but also pairs it with really well-designed platforming aspects, which I enjoy. It's a marvelous, marvelous little game. Is it really the top 25 for most people? Probably not. But for me, I do enjoy this one a lot. As a big Jackie Chan fan, it's something where I get to play as him, and I think that's pretty cool. There's some other Jackie Chan games out there that aren't as good. This one, though, this one is really, really fun. If you haven't played it, I urge you to do so. Number 12 for me is River City Girls from Way Forward, and this is just Such a wonderful continuation of the River City Ransom franchise. I think this is just a marvelous game. It is very tongue-in-cheek. It is very silly. And it kind of needed to be, right? Like, River City Ransom, despite the fact that it's about a gang war in a city, is a little tongue-in-cheek and is a little bit silly. Like, I mean, the guys just yell barf when they die sometimes, which I think is hilarious. And this game definitely does not take itself too seriously as far as kind of like its attitude. But the aptitude is there because the combat in the game is absolutely magnificent. The design work is sublime. It is one of the best looking, sounding, and like feel games I've ever played. I love the whole franchise. I love 1, 2, and 0. It's just marvelous. And if you haven't played it, like if there's something that's pushing you away from trying this one out, like I know some people don't care for Way Forward because of Shantae and things like that, and that's totally understandable, totally fine. I don't personally get it, but I get where you're coming from. Try this one out though. I think you'll love it. It's a really, really solid title. For me, number 11 is Dungeons & Dragons Shadow over Mystara. Mine ranks a little bit higher than what the AV Club had theirs as on their countdown. They had it in at number 13, and for me, this is almost in the top 10. I was blown away by Shadows of Mystara when I first played it, because it blended two of my absolute favorite genres. It took beat-em-ups, which I loved at the time, and RPG elements, which never crossed my mind could work in a beat-em-up, and just made the entire concept just sing. It was such a wonderful experience and something that holds up so unbelievably well today. Like, these games are still a blast to play, whether you're playing them on Steam, playing them on the Wii U, or playing them in an arcade, finding the original cabinets. They're still a ton of fun. They're still incredibly well-balanced and really, really enjoyable. Just a beautiful blend of genres and a beautiful use of the Dungeons & Dragons license. Okay, an honorable mention here for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind, and this might rank higher for some people, but for me it just doesn't quite break into the top 25, mainly because I don't really have any kind of like nostalgic draw to the Power Rangers. It was a little bit after my time. I was a little too old for them when they debuted, so it's not something that I really look back on fondly. I know a lot of people do, and I love that that happens because I think nostalgia is a good thing. It's just not quite a game that I think is worthy of being in the top 25. I still think it's excellent. It's still a fantastic title. The beat-em-up sections are great, and that is kind of the other thing that disqualifies it a little bit as well, is there's a lot of non-beat-em-up sections in the game, which kind of detract overall from how I perceive it. Unlike something in Battletoads where that jet ski level is like so ubiquitous with everything that happens in that game and everyone has a memory of it, with Power Rangers, you kind of get that repeatedly. Like, you get the Zord levels over and over again, and it just takes me out of the flow a little bit. But the combat in the game, the actual beat-em-up combat, is spectacular. Number 10 is the newest game on the list, and that is Marvel Cosmic Invasion from .emu and Tribute Games. There's going to be another one from that same team coming up shortly, but Marvel Cosmic Invasion is absolutely brilliant. It is one of the most beautiful beat-em-ups I've ever played. The look of the game is spectacular. The voice acting in the game is amazing. The music is wonderful. The combat is balanced. They have taken a huge, huge roster of characters and made all of them not only fun to play, but balanced. So no one's kind of stands head and shoulders above everyone else that you're going to want to play over anyone. You can play and have fun as Beta Ray Bill. You can play and have fun as Spider-Man. You can play and have fun as Rocket Raccoon. It doesn't matter. It's just a good time all around. Absolutely magnificent title, and just something that takes such care and such great use of that Marvel IP and makes an absolutely magical title. I cannot wait to see what else comes from this game. I'm hoping that we're going to have a huge DLC array announced for it, because I just think that this is going to be something that could go on and be hugely successful for years. It's so much fun. At number 9 was the most glaring omission to me from the AV Club list, and that is the X-Men arcade cabinet from Konami. This game is my childhood. This and the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game are my childhood. And as much as I love that TMNT game, and I almost put it on the list, X-Men is just a better game. Like, not only is it great single player, it is one of the best multiplayer games of all time. For something that is almost 40 years old now, it still looks incredible. It looks like an animated series come to life, and that is something that cannot be understated. The look of the game is one of the best looking beat 'em ups of all time. The combat is solid. The different characters that you're able to choose from are fantastic. The enemies in the game are really fun, even though they are early 90s beat 'em up repetition. Like, you just get different kind of color schemes of sentinels as you're fighting. The bosses and things like that are magical and just wonderful to fight. It's a magnificent game. If you can find the 6-player cabinet, it is so worth it because the game is absolutely magnificent. I was shocked that this did not make their list. Number 8 is, for me, Final Fight. I really love the original Final Fight. I think it's a wonderful game. I love the introduction of characters that I still enjoy to this day with Guy, Cody, and Hagar. I think that the game is kind of the first one I think of when I think of a beat 'em up. Like, if I picture a beat 'em up in my head, it's either this or the original Ninja Turtles arcade cabinet. And I just love it. Like, I think it's very simple by today's standards, and I think that could probably be why for some folks it would be knocked down lower, and I would completely respect that decision. But for me, I still think, despite its simplicity and despite that it's, in the grand scheme of things, a very basic game, it still works great. It still plays incredibly well. And I think that's the most important thing, is that it's easy to understand, it's easy to get into, and an absolute blast to play with more than one player. Just a fantastic title. In at number 7 for me, from the behemoth, is Castle Crashers. This is the updated, remastered version on the Nintendo Switch. I have loved Castle Crashers since the first time I played it. It's an unbelievably difficult game that does not pull any punches and does not make you feel kind of safe and warm as you're playing. It's a game from the behemoth, so it's going to be incredibly difficult no matter what you do. I just think it's fantastic. Like, it's one of the best multiplayer games I've ever played. It was one of the best Xbox Live Arcade games I had ever played as well. Like, this was something where I used to get together with buddies online and play it, and it was fantastic then. It's still fantastic now. It's great on the same console. It's great online as well. Like, there's nothing that this game does that I think it does poorly, other than maybe being a bit too difficult, and a bit is being generous. It's a very hard game. Really fun title, though. I love the look of it. I love that kind of signature behemoth art style that they put in all of their games. It feels a little bit Invader Zim to me, if I'm being honest. I just love it. Just really enjoy this game, and I think it's something that is well deserving of being in the top 10. Number 6, when I looked at their list, I had no idea what this game was. They had this ranked at number 4. I knock it down a little bit further, mainly because I was so unfamiliar with it up until a couple of weeks ago. This is Ninja Baseball Batman, which is the most wackadoo game on this list. This game's crazy. This game is absolutely insane. First off, I love that this is something that was endorsed by the Baseball Hall of Fame, I think, because you're trying to recover artifacts that were stolen, and you were conscripted by the Commissioner of Baseball. The characters are Captain Jose, named after Jose Canseco, Twin Bats Rhino, named after Ryan Sandberg, Beanball Roger, Roger Clemens, and Stick Straw, Daryl Strawberry. You can play up to 4 players at the same time, and it is one of the most entertaining and enjoyable beat-em-ups I've ever played. And for something from 1993, the visuals hold up incredibly well, as does the combat. Like, it's just such a stupid concept, and it shouldn't work nearly as well as it does, but I gotta be honest with you, this is one of the most fun experiences I've ever had playing a video game. It is impossible to find here in the States. There was something like 50 cabinets sold here in the United States, so if you can find one, you have found a grail. Buy it. Keep it, restore it, save it. But for people like me who are not going to be spending that money on a cabinet that sold that poorly, find it on MAME, play it. It's amazing. Number 5 brings us Absolum, or Absolum. I don't know how to pronounce it. I apologize for that. If the devs are watching, I am so sorry if I butchered the title of your game. I'm sure I did. This is such a clever concept. So this is one of the first kind of real beat-em-up roguelikes I've ever played, along with some really heavy RPG elements, which I really dig. So as you're leveling up, you're going to get new abilities and things like that, which we understand that happens in most games. But the thing I love about this game is kind of the underlying lore and underlying story, which is just beautiful to experience and just so incredibly well written and so incredibly carefully crafted that you can't help but kind of just feel really drawn into this world. The look of the game is absolutely stunning. It feels a little bit like something you would have seen on Adult Swim 10 years ago. Just that kind of signature style. It's a little bit Alex Hirsch from Gravity Falls. It's a little bit Over the Garden Wall, things like that. It's gorgeous to look at. The combat is amazing. The sound is amazing. It's just everything across the board on this game is fantastic. I would probably rank this higher if I had more time with it. It's as high as it is, and I've only had it for about a month. So just consider the fact of how good this game is based on everything else that I've already listed. It's so worth playing. It's so worth getting. If you haven't played it, please do so. It's available on modern consoles, and it's absolutely brilliant. Number 4 brings me one of my previous Game of the Year winners from my countdowns at the end of every year, and it is TMNT Shredder's Revenge, which is the other game from the team at .emu and Tribute Games. It's just fantastic. I love this game so much. I love the Ninja Turtles beat-em-ups no matter what. Any of them are worth putting on here. I love all of them. Not going to say equally, but I do love them all. But this one, to me, is the one that stands head and shoulders above all of them because it takes kind of that classic beat-em-up TMNT experience and gives it a modern veneer and modern kind of polish that just makes the game so much better than its predecessors. The roster in the game is fantastic. You play as all the turtles. You can play as Splinter, April, Usagi Yojimbo. There's more characters as well that I can't remember off the top of my head. There's a lot of DLC for this title. The levels are cleverly designed. I like that there's challenges on each one as you go. The different powers and different design elements in the game are wonderful. It's just fantastic. It is such a solid title and just such a fun experience to continuously go back to. I haven't gotten sick of it yet. I play this probably once a week, and I just have a blast with it. One of my favorite games of all time. No joke. Number 3 for me takes me back to the NES and one of my favorite games on that console, River City Ransom. I was enamored with this game when I first played it as a kid, and it was something that I kind of put on a shelf for a long time, kind of thinking that it was going to not age terribly well, and I'm so happy to report that it is just such a fun title that no matter what, it's a good time. I love the concept of the game. Like, I love just the kind of, like, it's basically the Warriors or West Side Story just told with an 80s varnish on it. And as you go, you're able to level your characters up, which wasn't something I had ever really experienced before, outside of, like, standard dungeon crawl RPGs like The Bard's Tale. I hadn't really found something in a game on the NES that was not an RPG-focused title that was going to allow you to improve your character like this. By getting the different books and getting the different power-ups and things like that to learn different techniques to make your character a better fighter, absolutely blew my mind. It was something that was just amazing to experience. And it's still a great game today. It's still fun. And I think that's the most important thing about it, is that you can sit someone down with this game that has never played it before, and they'll have a good time because they will understand the concept of the game and what you need to do. It's so much fun. It's very tongue-in-cheek. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's just excellent from top to bottom. And that is some of the highest praise I can give a game, because something that is over 40 years old at this point, to still be great and to still be top tier after all this time is amazing. I think this might be the biggest swing from what the AV Club had their game at to where I put this game. They had this game at number 22, and for me this comes in at number 2. This is Fight and Rage. Fight and Rage to me was a game that came out of nowhere on the Nintendo Switch. I had no idea that it existed. I saw it one day on an eShop sale and I grabbed it, and I was blown away by the quality. The look of the game is impeccable. It is such a loving blend of classic beat-em-up action while having that modern aesthetic and that modern feel, so it doesn't feel aged. It doesn't feel like something that stepped out of the 90s. It feels like something from today that stepped back to the 90s to work, which is... It doesn't sound like it should be tricky, but it can be tricky to get that balance to make it work. The characters in the game are fun. The look of the game is wonderful. The overall just kind of like polish that they put on it visually is spectacular. Like everything has a CRT filter, so you feel like you're standing at an arcade cabinet when you play it. The combat is wonderful. The level design is clever. It's just a solid game from top to bottom. I really enjoy this one. I was shocked to see it as low as it was on theirs. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a little shocked to see it as high as it is on mine. But when I weigh it against everything else, this is the bridesmaid game. It's that close, but it's not quite number one. And number one, and this is number one lapping the entire field, because this is, in my eyes, the greatest beat 'em up of all time. The one I go back to the most frequently, the one I have put more hours into than anything else on this list combined, and that is Streets of Rage 2. I cannot tell you how many hours I have put into this game and how often I have played it. The entire Streets of Rage series is fantastic, but Streets of Rage 2 is head and shoulders above everything else on this list. Everything that came after it owes a debt of gratitude to what this title laid out, because it brought so much stuff forward and made things that were just unheard of in beat-em-ups at the time commonplace and standard, and really just kind of evolved the genre to be something that was more than just button mashing and going around and beating the crap out of people. Yes, that still happens, don't get me wrong, but there was more to it than just that. The characters all played a little bit differently and all had a little bit different stats and different feels and different designs. The characters had special powers all of a sudden, which was not something I had really ever seen before in a beat-em-up, and now that's kind of standard. The music in the game is one of the single greatest soundtracks ever recorded and stands on the top of the list of Genesis soundtracks. I would put it up against most soundtracks on the SNES, with very few things surpassing it, but I can't get over how incredible this title is, and for me, it is the single greatest beat-em-up of all time. In fact, I think I'm going to go play it right now.
So yeah, there's my 25 best beat-em-ups of all time, the games that I always go back to, the games that I think are important, that change the industry, that are not only great mechanically, but also incredibly fun to play to this day, that still hold up. But now it's up to you. Let me know in the comments down below if I'm way off base or what you think about my list. And let me know what your top beat-em-ups of all time are as well. I would love to hear from you. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing. I'd love to have you stick around. And until next time, remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.